Radio Gaianym, bringing you a Sophianic broadcast featuring visionary teacher John Lamb Lash. Today is the 12th of April 2018. We're on day 26 of this Swan-Deva shift. The title of this broadcast is Ongoing Activity and the Future of the Mandela Effect Decoded Channel. We wanted to... John's at a crossroads in his role as a Gnostic teacher, and you've been really feeling the pressure. Actually, since you started the MED channel, you've been feeling the pressure to match people's expectations of your output, and you can't live your life that way anymore.
Well, it's natural and unavoidable due to the form of Gnostic teaching, due to the particular method and the content that I put out, which is largely novel and original. It's inevitable that what I teach creates expectations. So the people who enjoy what I teach and benefit from it are naturally always looking for more. And so I feel, or have always felt, the responsibility to bring them more. And so I continually bring the work to those who want to have it, who want to undertake it. And I'm realizing now that I have to change something in the way I do that.
Well, you've realised this for a long time. You know, you did the Guide Navigation experiment, which was 3 years of intense work for you. And you had people listening to the Guide Navigation experiment around the world, and they all had expectations of when's the next nav briefing going to be.
That's right.
You created a huge benchmark for yourself. And when I met you a couple of years ago, you had stopped talking. You were shaking your head. No, I'm never going to talk again publicly. And I was gently cajoling, sometimes kicking you, because I'm one of those people. I am one of your students that I love what you do. I love to hear you speak. I love to learn from you. It's never enough. I am one of those people that has expectations to hear from you again. So then you got the Mandela Effect Decoded ping, and then you went into doing that MED channel, which took you a year to do. Is that right?
Yeah, it was an opportunity that I couldn't resist.
Yeah. It was a gift.
You were there, in fact.
Yeah.
When we were sitting in the plaza in front of the Cafe Antonia in Gaianym when I brought up to you the Mandela Effect. That was in June of 2016, I believe.
Yeah.
And so then I set up the channel in February of 2017. And
you ran with it for a while. You were really running with it and really enjoying what you're doing. It was a lot of work. I don't think anybody appreciates how much work and effort and time you put into what you do. And as I've said before, you're always spinning 18 plates simultaneously.
Yeah, that is a tendency I have to juggle various different projects at the same time.
And it's also, I think it's worth pointing out, it's another part of being a Gnostic teacher is one's work is often incomplete because it's an ongoing learning. You're always teaching what you're learning.
That's right.
So sometimes you drop a plate because you've picked up another plate and you're running with it. So that's what happened to you. You felt like the Mandela Effect was a gift in your lap.
Oh, it was definitely a tremendous gift.
And you had to do something with that.
Yeah, I saw that I had already received purely from the telluric frequencies and from my communication with the PSI, if you want to call it that, the Planetary Sovereign Intelligence of the Earth, I had already received that syntax. The Aeonic Mother has agency. This is such a powerful statement. I mean, it's a tremendously powerful statement to speak it, and as well as to comprehend it. And then when I saw that the Mandela effect was both the proof and the instrument of her agency, I couldn't resist it. And I really enjoyed it. What I did not enjoy, and where you saw me balk and struggle and moan and scream, was that I didn't...
A lot of screaming.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy the solo format of going solo in front of a microphone on the internet.
Which is what you did for 3 years during the G&E, and it absolutely drove you to distraction.
It did.
So that is why we're now doing the Radio Gaianym broadcasts. But you had a realisation a few days ago that you can't continue to work the way that you do because actually there's not that much in it for you.
No, there isn't really.
What's the payoff?
Yeah, payoff is an interesting topic. By the way, there's a beautiful line about payoff in this film, The Razor's Edge, with Bill Murray, which I just happened to pick up lately and rewatch. That film came out in 1984, and I think it's very significant that it did, because the date 1984 is largely associated with a dystopian nightmare and the whole crazy, the whole crazy game of deceit,
which is where we find ourselves.
Which is where we find ourselves now. But at the same time, in that very same year, this Swandeva romance, this beautiful love story, and a story of a man in search of enlightenment, The Razor's Edge, came out. And one of the moments of enlightenment in that film, there are several, but one of them concerns his realization, the character played by Bill Murray, that there is no payoff for enlightenment, So payoff, to me, I have never expected a payoff. And all of my life, I have operated without giving a moment's thought to the return or remuneration for what I do. I would also have to add that I've had the privilege to be able to do that because of my connection in destiny with a certain person through whom I received a very modest inheritance, but it was enough for me, A, not to think about having to ask money for the teachings that I put out in the world, and B, for me also to contribute and provide money and resources to people all along the way. So over the last 9 years, I have been completely operating on my own expenses, and I have never considered any kind of return, monetary return or any other return. I just recently hit the wall on that. And
no, you've hit the wall a few times.
Yeah, but I really hit the wall last week. I really did. And what I've come to realize is that actually, at a certain moment, it's become counterproductive for me to operate in that way.
But you're not actually now talking specifically about remuneration. You're now talking about a moral, keeping your moral up, keeping yourself lifted and inspired to keep on teaching. Because there's two unique factors of being a Gnostic teacher.
Right. One of them is to always talk and teach and develop all the material in the frame of the sacred narrative of the fallen goddess scenario.
Yeah.
Rigorously.
Yeah, which is second nature to you.
Right, which is second nature to you.
You'd never do, and actually once you learn the biography of the earth, therefore the biography of humanity, that's where we all come from.
Yeah, and you love it as if it's your own life, because it is your own life. It is your own life. It's the transpersonal version of your life. And I know that I'm sitting here with someone in flesh and blood who loves that story as much as she loves the story of her own personal life. This is where you get with it.
I love it more, actually.
Yeah, even more. This is where you get with it. This is where I'm at. And the second factor in the Gnostic method of teaching is that I teach you in the way that your mind is designed to learn. And only a Gnostic, a true Gnostic, can know how the human mind is designed to learn by intimacy with those who designed it.
So you teach according to how the human mind works?
Yes, how it actually works optimally, and how it can work and reach a genius level. And I demonstrate that genius level in the teaching.
So here we come to the crunch, because, and I'm guilty of this as well, you teach all that you've taught, and you're always teaching what you're learning as well as what you've learned. What do you do with that knowledge? You could read 5,000 books, but what do you do with that knowledge? Who do you tell that to? Because we're in a unique situation in human history. We're Xenosh-wise now. We know our story because we know her story. But you tell that to the person sitting next to you on the bus, and they're not going to be interested.
So the question of how to share this Gnostic intel and how to share your experience of living in her story is a big question. And I'm not leaving any of you hanging. I'm not leaving you in the lurch, as we say in American slang. I'm not stringing you out to abandon you, but I have to change the way that I operate and the way that I teach.
So the purpose of this recording is for you to voice the standards that you are now going to set, because there's nothing in it for you, John, to keep spoon feeding people.
No, there really isn't.
And when I say spoon feed, I'm included in that. I can't get enough. I love it. But there's got to be something in it for you, because you're not getting anything. All you're getting is a huge load of pressure on your shoulders, which means you can't achieve anything because you're under too much pressure.
That's right. And if I don't enjoy what I'm doing, then I'm in betrayal against the very principles by which I live.
Yeah.
And so how can I continue to teach and enjoy? Well, that's why we're having this talk, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I like what you said, and I want to, as I answer my own question now, I want to underscore that it's both about moral and material return. And the factor of material return is crucial now, so that I can do more, even more than I've done before, and so that I can structure and bring completion to everything that I've done. That goes to the subject of nimitta, and we'll conclude with talking about nimitta, because really the future of this channel is nimitta. This is where it goes from here. So what I'd like to say now is something that I've never said before. I've never stated it in these terms, and I want to make it really clear and explicit, okay? So here goes. I have wishes regarding how I would like my teachings to be received and sustained and carried ahead by the people who love and enjoy them. I have standards. I have requirements, if you will, of those who follow this work. And I've never stated openly what they are, but now is the time to do so.
But you're not saying this from a position of authority or from a position of being demanding. It's just how it has to go in order for you to get on with your work as a Gnostic teacher and to set a benchmark for those people out there who enjoy your work and I'm sure are looking for well, what do I do with it?
That's right. It's good that you say that. No, I can't speak, as an authority, although I do have authority based on, my knowledge. Knowledge is authority. Truth is authority. But I do not state this as an authoritarian rule. Gnostic intel is so unique on this planet, and it's so rare and precious, the genuine Gnostic intel, that if you take it on in your life, if you incorporate it, it comes with a certain standard to uphold. Now, that standard is, first of all, not to be a passive recipient.
Yeah. So you can't just, you can do what the hell you want.
Yeah, right.
You can listen to John, you can read John
for the rest of your life if you want to.
And you can soak it up like a sponge.
Right. But that's not going to help me.
And it's not going to help yourself.
That's right.
And it's not going to help her.
So one of the things that I wish is that those of you who take on this work would consider deeply the responsibility that you have to teach it and impart it. And how are you going to do that in real world scenarios? I don't want this work to be confined to the internet and to the electronic medium. Now, I've said before, I only consider this internet medium as if it were a radio. This is just a radio show, and radio existed a long time before the internet. I don't like Facebook. I don't like social media. I don't consider the electronically based social media to be the place to propagate this intel. You have to propagate it in life.
In the flesh.
In the flesh, person to person. And therefore, that is the first standard, that what I teach becomes real for you in the real world, and not just in this medium where you first may detect me. Okay? One of the points of importance to me as the school, what is it called? The Sophianic School of Arts and Sciences, or something like that.
The School of Sophianic Arts and Sciences.
Right. The School of Sophianic Arts and Sciences, which is now being founded online, is not an online school. Take that on board.
It's a portal.
Right. It's an online portal to an in-life event. So you enter Nemitta, this school, which is the structure, the future structure, very close to being functional, the future structure that carries all of my work forward. And how many facets of my work are there?
Well, there's many, but we've whittled it down to 12 paths of learning.
12 learning paths and 3 vocational paths. So there are about 15 courses or paths to undertake in the structure of Nemitta. What is the purpose of this structure? It is to bring the Gnostic teaching to life in your everyday reality, to take it out and take it off the internet. And one of the things that I'm emphasizing with the inauguration of Nemitta soon is to go back to books, to go back to reading books. So, for instance, to print out the material that you find online that I've written, to print it out and carry it in a notebook with you, so that when you're sitting in a cafe somewhere, for instance, you have in front of you a notebook with the printed out material. You're not just reading it off
an iPad.
This is my wish. This is part of how I would like to see this work achieved and accomplished now and in the future. And I have other criteria too. You have to remind me of what they are.
So, the purpose of Nemitta, apart from organising your work on metahistory and Gaia Spore into a coherent form, because even you think metahistory is a labyrinth that you can't find.
Yeah, I can't find
You
my
can't
own
find
work on
anything.
metahistory.org.
No, and we always come across stuff.
And metahistory.org is not the only one. Go to Gaiaspora.org.
Yeah.
It's equally as massive.
Yeah. So it's a huge treasure chest, and not easy to navigate. Even John can't find stuff in there. So the first concept was to organise your work. Second idea was, John, you've done this for so long for no money. Like you said earlier, you've never thought about being remunerated for the work you've done. You did have some financial support at the beginning from the Marion Foundation.
Right. I founded Metahistory at the behest of a non-profit foundation in the United States, the Marion Institute. And from 2001 until 2002 to 2009, I did have support and sponsorship from the Marion Foundation.
So that's how you were able to set up Metahistory, and that's how
I initially set up
kickstarted
Metahistory.
it, yeah.
From 2009 till today, I did it without their support and at considerable personal expense. As you know, I won't go into that.
Well, okay, but, just keeping body and soul together, keeping a roof over your head, keeping a car on the road. You even tried to set up a school.
At a location. Which cost you vast amounts of money. That's
and
right.
It didn't really work out because of the people that were around you at the time.
And I can't even remember how many Macs I bought for people. And how many plane fares I've provided for people to come and study with me.
Yeah.
And all of this. And I don't regret any of that. I enjoyed it all, and I did it with great pleasure, and I didn't expect anything in return. What I'm looking for in return now is the revenues and funds that will come to Nemitta, which will provide the base for me to do even more of what I was doing before out of my own resources.
So Nemitta, which means sacred groves, which was the idea of Mega.
Mm-hmm.
She came up with that name, which is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We love the name.
Yes, we do.
So Nemitta is going to be a membership type school.
That's right.
So you can pay for a year's membership. You can just buy a course. You can, there's going to be material that will be available for free on there.
That's right.
But there's going to be 12 learning paths. There's going to be
three vocational paths. And there are going to be projects for which investment is invited. That is to say, there are actual material projects that are coming out of Nemitta, which are coming out of the terma of Gaia Awakening.
Well, this is the thing. When just going back to the Marion Institute, when you introduced Planetary Tantra, so after you got the terma and then you introduced Planetary Tantra to Metahistory, that's when they dropped you like a hot potato.
That's right, because it was too far out for them.
Yeah.
And they couldn't see how they could support me in the going into areas, going where no one has yet dared to go. And so they dropped me in the spring of 2009.
Yeah.
9 years ago. Is that 9 years ago now? Yeah.
Mm. So Nemitta will be a membership-based portal for an online school for John's work. So there's many prongs to this attack of Nemitta, to this concept of Nemitta, and it keeps developing all the time. We've been developing this school for 2 years.
Yes, that's right.
And we're getting there.
That's right.
So another, and I think probably one of the most important reasons for me personally for Nemitta to be set up is the company of the Grail.
Yes.
So, people who get involved with Nemitta, there's also going to be a kind of a place for people to meet online that live in the narrative, where we encourage you to meet in the flesh.
We have the Nemitta Treehouse.
The Nemitta Treehouse.
Which is going to be kind of like a student union
type place.
Gathering place for everyone who follows this work.
So there'll be individual places for people to meet that take whatever course they take.
That's right.
There'll be individual meeting places for people that take the courses like Celestics.
That's right.
the vocational courses.
That's
And
right.
there'll be a general forum type thing for people to meet. But for me, it's that people take on board that this legacy that John has left us with, the restoration of the most sacred narrative of the earth, on the earth, we who join in with Nemitta, we will be the Grail keepers after John has gone. And we have to ensure that this story never ever gets lost again. And we will be the Company of the Grail. So, John, talk about the Company of the Grail.
Company of the Grail is an expression that goes back to medieval literature. And who were the Company of the Grail? Well, they were these people who lived on this wild mountain called Mont Sauvage, or Mont Sauvage, wild mountain, in an elaborate castle. And they lived in the middle of what was called La Terre Gaste, or the wasteland. And this situation of the Company of the Grail is the situation of those today who received the Gnostic intel. You are living in some kind of isolation in the midst of a terrible, terrible wasteland. Due to the Xenosh, due to the deceits of the Xenosh and their accomplices, due to the Archons, whose power has now been largely thwarted by the
material change that she made.
By the material changes that she's making and the changes that she's making on the planet as a whole. Due to all that, a lot of human life has been reduced to a wasteland. It's an entertainment wasteland, it's a food wasteland, it's a chemical wasteland.
It's a sex wasteland.
It's a sex wasteland. And those of you who receive the precious Gnostic message belong to this company who is isolated in the midst of the wasteland and live in their castle. And that castle is your Kali fortress. The name of Kali, Durga, means the fortress. So you're also warriors, but you can't really reach the world. So many, how many people write me and say that they are isolated?
Everyone.
Everyone does.
Everybody
suffers from this isolation.
Yeah.
The isolation of the Company of the Grail is almost archetypal if you go back and you look into the studies of medieval literature. So what does it mean to be in the Company of the Grail and to be a Grail keeper? Well, this comes back to the standards that I hold for you, for my students and friends. I hold you to a high standard. I hold you to this standard, and I need you to reach the standard in order to assure me that the work will survive, that the work will survive me. And so the structure of Nemitta is not merely to give me some financial remuneration so that I can, have a roof over my head and take care of myself and whatever beloved creatures might gather around me, but it is to carry forward the work and to make it solid, ground it solidly in the world. The Grail, as I've said, is just one thing. It's only one thing. And all other theories of the Grail, all other speculations, all other claims are wrong. The Grail is the living luminosity of the planet Earth. It is the organic light. It is the great secret of the mysteries that was never told publicly. And now that secret is out. So if you are a Grail keeper, you're a keeper of that secret, but it's no longer a secret, you see. So there's a paradox there as well. Nevertheless, you don't run around wildly and tell everyone about the organic light. The question of how to maintain what was once the most intimate secret of the mysteries and how to maintain it and carry it in the world is a big question. That is the question that you live with when you take on this Gnostic material, when you take on everything that I've taught. And like the poet Rilke said, well, sometimes, you just have to live the question and live with the question. But I think that Nimitta provides some really good answers to this question and how to do this.
So literally, you will be handing over the baton that you've carried alone for a long time.
That's right.
The Grail baton.
That's right.
When Nimitta goes live, that's you coming up on that track, on that outside track, handing over the baton to those of us
who are standing there to take it up.
Who are standing there to take it up.
And you may take it up for many different causes, because the teachings, the richness of the Grail legacy is immense and reaches into many areas of art and science and knowledge. And so whatever is your disposition, you, according to that disposition, you take up the baton, the torch.
So the the remuneration that will come in from Nimitta, which it isn't going to be that expensive. We've yet to do the pricing on all of the courses.
Yeah, the courses will probably be priced from between $40 to $70 for a course.
Yeah.
Okay? And membership is not going to be...
It's about €13 a month, I think.
Yeah, it's about $15, $16 a month. So
that money's going to go to providing you a little bit of comfort, to keep you afloat, to keep you comfortable in your old age.
Yeah. Give me some wheels to travel in.
Yeah.
And so I can travel around a bit too, because I am meeting groups who are practicing Planetary Tantra here and there, or around the country.
Yeah, you went to Sweden, didn't you? And
great group. The Nordic group, the Scandinavian group is absolutely dynamite.
But also, all those funds are going to get poured into helping you complete some of your work. So, for example, the Kali Dice Oracle.
That's right.
Gnostic Sabotage.
That's
book,
right.
The Celestics. We're going to.
The Celestics course.
If you don't know about Celestics, go and look at metahistory.org. John has transformed astrology into forensic astronomy, and it is quite simply the most sublime thing that I've ever encountered. So we're going to be pushing Celestics. We're going to have at least 2 Celesticians working for Nimitta.
That's right.
To read people's endowments that they got from the goddess at the moment they were born.
That's right.
Because
the Celestics is a method that allows you to know actually what your purpose in life is, according to your endowment, which is to say what you have inherited from the previous peak experience of the human species.
Yeah, and this is the thing about John's work. Everything is connected. There's nothing that's not connected. It all kind of swirls around very gently in a beautiful vortex.
So an important thing to add here, as this is all swiftly flowing through my mind as we're having this conversation, is that I'm aware that as Nimitta goes online, there will certainly be some of the younger generation, who will not be able to maybe even afford a course. So one of the purposes of Nimitta is going to be to provide apprenticeships to people.
Yeah.
Who want to seriously undertake some longer-term studies of this work.
Yeah, they're going to have to get through me. There's going to be some pretty rigorous vetting by the staffy. But yeah, what a beautiful gift to give young people. We need to nurture the people who are going to be, the generations.
I really want to bring in the young
us.
generation. I think that they have tremendous potential to take on this work, and quite frankly, it's the only future for them, because there ain't no future for them in the wasteland out there. And they know that. They know that already. Yeah,
so we've got a Generation Zyklon scholarship
That's
on
right.
the cards.
That's right.
Also, I'm going to give free membership for a year at least to people who have already assisted you, John. So people who've translated your work, people who have helped you with IT issues. You know who you are. We love you. So
honorary members.
So listen, if you want to be an honorary member and you've got some skills, then write jll@metahistory.org and we'll see if we can work something out.
Also, on that note, I would point out that another application of the funds that come into Nimitta would be for services and skills that are really needed to pull this work together into a form for the future. For instance, one of the skills that I sorely need in assistance is editing skills. Someone who can who has had experience, maybe working with a publishing company or a magazine, who knows how actually to do editing, professional editing. Well, that's a skill that requires remuneration in itself, and so some of the funds coming into Nimitta could be applied to hire someone for that purpose, and that is sorely needed. Also, what's it called? Terma Publishing has already published one book, which is the Spanish version of Not in This Image.
Beautiful, it is.
And so Terma Publishing is a branch of Nimitta, and so we will be putting more and more of my material into book form. I strongly believe, this may sound like improbable, but on the other hand, it may not. You know, I just heard on the internet the other day, for what it's worth, that 2018 is going to be the year of the Neo-Luddite.
I'm a Neo-Luddite.
Yeah, you're a Neo-Luddite, right?
Yeah.
So in case anyone doesn't know, the Luddites were what? Who were the Luddites?
People who, well, a Luddite is someone that hates technology.
And rejects technology. Yeah.
So I'm a nouveau-Nazi Neo-Luddite.
I think that describes you very well. Sigma. Yes. Hail Ma, hail the mother. Yeah, I think that describes you beautifully. So, what was I talking about? Yeah, I seem like a backward old fuddy-duddy if I say get out of the electronic medium and get back to reading books, but I really feel no sense in my gut. That's the way it's going to go.
How many times a week do we all tell ourselves off for wasting time looking for things to watch on YouTube?
Right.
When you should be sat reading a book, for goodness sake.
So Nimitta is going to bring out my works in book form, and I really look forward to that and to the art of bookmaking again and doing it conscientiously.
So we've had graphic designers help us with Terma Publishing, and we've got an amazing artist. We've got another amazing artist coming on board.
That's right. So we're building up the staff, the educational staff,
and we want to pay these people.
That's right. They should be paid because it's it's valuable work. So that's the way it's going, and what we're getting to in this talk is about the future of this channel. And so I think in concluding, if we've covered more or less everything,
just one thing before we conclude. You want to adopt the protocol of the recovery movement,
right?
For what you're stating a boundary that you need. I'm sorry, it's not about us. It's what John needs to continue to do all that he does. So you need to state a boundary, and you want to adopt a protocol that you learned in the recovery movement,
right? Which
is attraction,
not promotion. Right. So every one of you who takes to heart the sacred narrative of the wisdom goddess and who enjoys learning the Gnostic Intel, do you enjoy learning it? What's the Mandela effect from the Bee Gees? Do you really want to know?
Do you really want to learn?
Or do you really mean to learn? That's a Mandela effect.
You love the Bee Gees, don't you, John?
Oh, sure. I adore them. I'd crawl over cut glass to a Bee Gees concert any day. But I love that line. I do love that line because it says exactly where it's at. You know, do you really mean to learn? Do you really love what you are learning? If you do, then you have the responsibility not to recruit and preach ever. Ever.
Well, that's just repellent anyway, isn't it?
That's right. That's repellent, and that just puts any sane person off. But to find a way, to be creative, and to find a way to impart and share what you know. You are just like me. I teach what I'm learning. You teach what you're learning. This is how we together, you and I, keep Gnosis alive today. And I want to point out something that I'm going to bring up in another talk we do soon here on Radio Gaianym. You know, there are people out there, and I'm going to start naming them now. We're going to do some irrigations, aren't we?
Oh, I can't wait.
I can tell.
I've sharpened my elbows.
Yeah, I can see the venom dripping from your fangs as I speak. An irrigation means that I will speak directly and address directly certain people that I know, such as Graham Hancock or Jay Widener, and others that I don't know.
Freddie Silver.
Right, Freddie Silver is coming.
And Sylvie of New Earth is going to get it.
Sylvia of New Earth and others. And I just want to say, in case you don't know this already, in case it hasn't dawned on you, well, there are some people out there who talk about Gnosticism and the Nag Hammadi writings, and they talk about the mysteries and Hermetics and alchemy.
Mark
Passio and people like this. And there are other people besides me who talk about these topics. However, there is not one single other person who is presenting original material based in that tradition. So they're commentators, but they are not teachers and originators who carry forward the material for this time.
No, they repeat smear campaigns.
And a lot of what they repeat is disinformation about Gnosticism, for instance. I'm going to do an irrigation on that. Extremely important irrigation. For people who know me and who presumably read Not in His Image and who do not even observe the crucial corrections that I made about what the Gnostics actually said. So anyway, I'm not going to beef on that right now. But why did I bring that up anyway?
So, it's moving forward with how Radio Gaianym is going to operate from now on.
Right.
Your boundaries that you need to set for yourself
That's
to
right.
continue working as the Gnostic teacher that you've worked as.
Right.
So, where do you want people to go now?
Okay, I assure you that I'm not going to stop developing and delivering this material because I love it and it's fantastic. I mean, the originality of my work is staggering even to me. I have trouble keeping track of it, don't I?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of what goes on Nemitta, by the way, I just want to say this, is pre-terma. Celestics is pre-terma. There are things that I have developed, teachings and whole bodies of teaching that I've developed that are independent from Planetary Tantra. Now, Planetary Tantra itself, as I've said, is going to be free. Planetary Tantra will always be free. But if you want the free Planetary Tantra, if you want to know about the Shakti Cluster app and how to use it, then you have to come to me. I'm not going to come to you
Anymore.
And the way to come to me is to look in the description to look in the description below, and you will see a link to the contact page on Gaiaspore.org. That's where you sign up for the newsletter. So, from here on, you will if you are on that list, you will receive announcements of the material in Planetary Tantra, which is free. But it's only free if you come to me for it. I'm not going to bring it to you.
So just to clarify, Planetary Tantra will always be free. You
That's
made
right.
that statement a long time ago. Teaching autogenic magic, so wherever the Charlotte working goes from here on in, people have to come to you for it. You're not going to be under that pressure to spoon feed people anymore.
No, and I'm not going to give it out in the way that I've done in the past.
Because it's too much for you.
It doesn't work for me anymore. I don't make any excuses about it. I don't need to explain myself to anybody. But I'm just, being transparent with you about where I'm at.
So again, to clarify, you need to sign up to the John's current events
Mailing list.
subscription emailing list, where you will get, at least each month, you will get notification of who is on shift.
Right, the Dakini shift and other points of Gnostic instruction for that month.
Autogenic magic, how to use the app.
That's right. Further details of the Shakti cluster and things of that sort. And that will lead, that newsletter also leads you to Nemitta. At the time when Nemitta goes online, it will be announced via that newsletter.
So with regards to Radio Gaianym, we will continue to intermittently put talks up on Radio Gaianym. So the irrigation talks will be up on Radio
That's
Gaianym.
right.
Anything else that comes up current that John feels excited about, we've got another subject that we need to talk about very soon. They're going to be on Radio Gaianym, but you're not going to be doing a broadcast every couple of days or every week.
No, we don't know
need to-
when.
No.
It's just hit or miss when we get to them.
Yeah.
And we've got quite a few things we want to get to.
We've got a long list.
We got a long list.
Yeah.
So there'll still be postings on this channel, but the overall way I'm presenting my teachings is now at a crossroads, and it will change.
So sign up to the subscription list
In the description,
in the description below. I've always wanted to say that. Look at the
Right.
guys. Look at the description in
you
the,
finally got to say it, and you're even pointing down.
Look at the link in the description below. So until then,
Yes,
be mysterious.
and keep it real.